Namaste dear students, welcome to Metro PABSON's long distance training program. I am Radha Joshi and I welcome you to yet another class of voice. Yesterday we had done some parts of voice. Today we are going to do and learn the remaining portions of active passive voice. So let's do a warm up before we start. So children, pay attention to the whiteboard for a slight warm up. Yesterday what we did was whiteboard. Please look at the whiteboard everyone. First of all, what we did was the interchange of subject and object. So you should know that the active voice's subject becomes the object and vice versa in the passive sentence. Okay? And what we learnt was in active voice the doer of action is important, so he is placed as subject, whereas in passive voice the action is more important. Now second structure that we remembered or we learnt yesterday was that we have a by agent in passive voice. Yes dear students, I am telling a by agent most of the time, because today we are going to learn some structures where by agent is not used. Yesterday also we learnt one structure where by agent was not used. What was that? Correct. It was when vague objects are there like Sena. So you don't use a by agent in that, but here today also we are going to learn some structures where by agent is not necessary. Or sometimes you do not use this by preposition, you have to use some other prepositions which we are going to learn today. Now the next thing in passive pattern that you learnt yesterday or we learnt yesterday was be verb and auxiliary verb. There is a presence of auxiliary verb and be verb mostly in passive sentence, like if there is a verb 3 with auxiliary, then you have to say like was given. Normally it is a passive pattern. So that is what we learnt yesterday. Now let's begin with the slides that I have prepared for you. So please children, let's revise yesterday's pattern. If you have forgotten to jot down some of the words, this is what I have given to you yet again today. Please jot down the important points that you may have missed yesterday. So the first active structure is slide please. Verb 1, verb 5 in passive structure changes into is, am, are plus verb 3. Verb 2 will change, you have to put was, were plus verb 3. Has, have, had plus verb 3 will be having has, have, had plus verb 3, had been plus verb 3. Is, am, are plus verb 4, that is the continuous form, will have again is, am, are plus being plus verb 3. Shall, will have plus verb 3 will have been plus verb 3, shall, will plus verb 1 will change into will be plus verb 3, then modal auxiliary plus verb 1 will have modal auxiliary plus be plus verb 3. So that was what we had done yesterday. So let's move on to the other one. So till yesterday we had learned yesterday 6 rules. Now let's move on with the 7th one. The 7th one is passive structures with that clause. Sometimes you will have a that, when to use in passive structure that. So the normal pattern is in passive sentence it is plus verb 3 plus that clause. So let's have a look when to use this structure, in which cases of active sentences will you use this structure. They expect she is dancing well. Look at the example children, they expect she is dancing well. Now here how would you change it? It's difficult. So this what you have to do is you have to bring a that in passive sentence. You can change it in 2 ways. The first one is it is expected that she is dancing well. It is expected, by them is not compulsory here, you don't have to write that. So it is expected that she is dancing well or she is expected to be dancing well. Now in these two structures, the first structure, that is it is expected that, look at the rule first, rule number 7, Passive structures with that clause, it is plus verb 3. Here it is expected, it is verb 3. That she is dancing well is a more simpler structure than she is expected to be dancing well. I hope that you have understood this, dear students, and I recommend from my side for grade 9 students to follow the first structure, because that is much more simpler one than the second one. You may have some difficulty level in doing it in the second way. So, it is better that you do it in the first way. Anyways, both are right. Now, let us see the second example. People claim that the price of petrol has gone up. People claim that the price of petrol has gone up. So, how would you change it according to the first one is, it is claimed that the price of petrol has gone up, or in the second way, the price of petrol, the object of the active sentence, you have brought it as subject, you have made it as subject in the passive one. So, the price of petrol is claimed to have gone up. Okay. So, you can use any of these patterns, it depends on you, it depends on your understanding level. If you understand the first pattern better, use it that way, or the second pattern. These are the two ways in which you can solve such questions. So, please once again see the rule, it is plus verb 3 plus that clause. Let us move on to the next one, the 8th general structure that you will be having. As I told you before, that sometimes you do not use the by preposition. So, in which cases, okay, I have given you some examples over there, where some examples, remember there are lot many which do not take by, but to make it easier for you, according to the questions that I have seen in the question sets as well as practice books, these are the regular questions, or these are the regular words that are repeated. So, I have made a list for which you have to be clear about, like with. Okay. With is used with verbs like please, satisfy, cover, covered with, pleased with, satisfied with. So, you do not have to write satisfied by, you have to write satisfied with. So, these are the prepositions which do not take a by preposition or by agent. So, here to is used with verbs like marry, know, oblige, married to. Normally, what I find is he married with Sita married with Ram. Actually, Sita was married or is married to Ram. That is the correct structure. So, here to with married, know, known to, English is known to me. Oblige will also take to, then in is used with interest, and at is used with surprise, astonish, shock. Okay. They were shocked at her behavior. Her behavior shocked her. How would you change? They were shocked. They were shocked at her behavior. Okay. So, at is used with surprise, astonish and shock. For example, Nabina has pleased her parents. Her parents have been pleased with Nabina. I have underlined pleased with. Are you seeing? You cannot write her parents have been pleased by Nabina. That wouldn't be correct. So, what you have to write is her parents have been pleased with Nabina. And the second example is Mary married Henry. So, Henry was married to Mary. You cannot write Henry was married by Mary. That would be a funny sentence. So, what you would say is Henry was married to Mary. I hope that you have understood these prepositions. I would again repeat, with is used with verbs like please, satisfy, cover. To is used with verbs like marry, know, oblige. In is used with interest, and at is used with surprise, astonish, shock. Okay. Now, let us move on to the next rule. Now, what to do in case of yes no questions? What will you do? There is a certain pattern that you have to follow. For example, see how would you change active sentences which are having yes no structure. So, how would you change in passive is you have to use is, am, are, was, where plus object plus verb 3 plus by agent. By agent is inserted in bracket. So, you have already understood, I think, dear students. Yesterday I said when something is in bracket that is optional, or you can use the other pattern. You have to use other pattern sometimes, that is auxiliary verb plus object plus be verb plus verb 3 plus by agent, which is optional. Now, most of the students follow this pattern, but they forget one important thing. What is that? Question mark remains a question mark. That means a question will remain a question in passive. Normally, they mix it with direct indirect speech. They try to cancel that question mark. They do not give that question mark. Please remember, in both the yes no question will have a question mark at the end. Okay. So, normally when I check the papers, I just tell my student, warn my students, I will cut your minus 0.5 if I will give you a negative marking if you do not write that question mark. So, this question mark is also important, dear students. Now, there are examples to make this rule clear. Please have a look. Example, does she write a letter? Look at the active structure of this. It is a yes no question. Does she write a letter? How would you do that is letter, which is a singular object. So, you are using is a letter written by her. So, again we are going according to the first pattern, where is are was where plus object plus verb 3 plus by agent is there. I have not, used by agent here. So, the question was, or the example, the first example was, is does she write a letter? Is a letter written by her, and a question mark. Okay. Do not forget to give that question mark. A question will remain a question. Do not try to change it, dear students, because grammatical marks or the portion of grammar marks is in your pockets. You can easily gain these marks if you are extra careful. The second example that I have given you is, look at the active structure. Has John killed the tigers? Has John killed the tigers? How would you say? Have the tigers been killed by John? You have to insert a be verb there. So, with have you have inserted been there. So, have the tigers been killed by John? Okay. So, are you clear with both these patterns? Once again I repeat the pattern for you. Is are was where plus object plus verb 3 plus by agent, which is optional, or auxiliary verb plus object plus be verb plus verb 3 and by agent. So, and question mark. Okay. Please remember, you have to give this question mark in passive structure also. I hope that you have understood this, because we are going towards from simple to a complex structure, where you may have some difficulty level in understanding, comprehending and solving such type of questions. My recommendation or my request to you, do as many exercises as possible to accomplish excellence in your work. So, let us move on to the other slide, dear students. Let us see rule number 10, structures for WH questions. Sometimes the active voice will have is in a WH form, in a question form. So, what would you do in order to change that? Please have a look. How would you change that? The question pattern or the passive pattern for WH question is by whom plus auxiliary verb plus object plus be verb plus verb 3 plus by agent and a question mark. Do not forget that mark, though it is just a dot for you, it carries marks, dear students. Then another pattern, WH word plus auxiliary verb plus object plus be verb, which is optional, plus verb 3 plus by agent, which is optional, and a question mark. Example, look at the example. I know the pattern becomes clear as soon as an example is presented. So, I am going to explain the example. who will cook this fish? It's a active structure of WH question. Who will cook this fish? What you would do? By whom, according to the first pattern, by whom plus auxiliary verb is will here. So, by whom will, object is this fish, by whom will this fish be verb, you have to put there, be cooked, or who will plus object should be there. So, who will this fish be cooked by? Whichever is simpler for you, please follow that pattern. Do not try to follow other patterns, sometimes one and sometimes other. You can follow only one pattern, be very careful, or sometimes you can gain mastery in the second pattern also. The more you exercise, the more you become perfect in active passive voice. Now, let us look at the second example. What did they teach us? Again, an active structure of WH question. What did they teach us? What okay, who were we taught, okay, what were we taught? So, please see what did they teach us, what were we taught. If you write by them also it is okay, if you do not write also it is okay. Do not forget to give the question mark, okay. What were we taught by them? Here I am excluding the be question, a be verb. So, in the first you had be, sometimes you do not have a be, that is why in the rule I had kept that in brackets. Okay. Here what did they teach us? What were we taught? Okay. Now, let us move on to the other one. I hope that dear students you have understood till now, because I am enjoying teaching you and I hope that you are gaining and learning something from me. I am really enjoying this class. Now, please see structure 11, what to do in case of imperative sentences. Now, you may ask what are imperative sentences? Of course, they can be a command or a request or obligations. Now, what to do in such case? What pattern or which pattern to follow? Well, there are a number of patterns that you can follow here, like if you are having a simple command, then you can use this structure, let plus object plus be plus verb 3, or if it is an obligation, you are supposed to plus verb 1 plus object. If again another structure for obligation, dear students, object plus should, and there is a not also, sometimes you are asked not to do a certain thing. So, object plus should not in bracket plus be plus verb 3, and another pattern for request. When there is a request, that means you are requested to do something or not to do something. So, you are requested to plus verb 1. So, how to make it clear is with an example. So, let us have a look. Example, help them. Okay. If you think that it is an order, how would you say? If it is a simple command, like a teacher tells a student help them. Okay. A teacher is saying grade 9 students go and help grade 8, help them. So, how would you say? Let them be helped, let grade 8 be helped, or you are supposed to help them. You are senior students, you are supposed to help them. Second, they should be helped. It is an obligation. I have made it compulsory. The teacher has made it compulsory. You have to help them. There is no other choice. You have to, or they should be helped. Okay? They should be helped for obligation. Another structure for request for the same sentence, you are requested to help. So, if you write any of this pattern, we give you a tick. It is according to your understanding level. If you think it is a command, use let them be helped. If you think it is an obligation, they should be helped. If you think it is a request, you are requested to help. Okay. Now, look at don't eat stale food. You may think where does this not come? I had given in the rule there is a not in bracket. So, you may think. So, I have given an example when the active structure has a not in imperative sentence, like don't eat stale food. How would you change that? You are supposed not to eat stale food, or stale food should not be eaten. By you is not necessary here. So, you are supposed not to eat stale food, or stale food should not be eaten. Okay. Now, let us before wrapping up, before doing the exercises, there is one more thing that you should learn about, like ing form. Look at the whiteboard to make it clear. I hate. There are certain questions and difficulty level in understanding. So, I need to be viewed on the whiteboard. Okay, everyone have eyes on the whiteboard. I hate people telephoning me. I hate people telephoning me. You know, when there is an ing, you have to use the be form of this being. So, how would you write that? You have to say, you have to write I hate being telephoned. This is most of the times that students encounter difficulties with. They just don't know how to do that. So, with hate, I love people telephoning me. I love being telephoned by people. Okay, in bracket. Okay. If it is by Reena, by Seema, it's a must, or by people, it's okay. If you don't write also, it's okay. If you write also, it's marked a tick. Okay. So, I hate people telephoning me, or I love people telephoning me. I hate being telephoned. I prefer reading books. Reading books is preferred by me. Okay. So, these are the normal general rules that you have to follow while making active voice into passive. If you want to change passive into active, do vice versa. Be, first of all, just see there, if there is a be verb, then please cancel that in when you are doing vice versa. That means from passive to active, which is really difficult, because touching nose this way is very simple, while on the around way is very difficult. So, for today I am just teaching you how to change active voices into passive ones. So, let us see wrap up. Let us wrap up this. Let us finish with exercises, some simple exercises for you. It is in the slide. So, let us have a look. Some simple exercises that you often see in your exam paper, or most of the times in your practice books and question banks too. Change the following sentences into passive. Will she clean my car? We had done a yes no question structure. Have you remembered? I hope that you have remembered that. So, there are two options. Please tell me which is the correct one. Will my car be cleaned by her, or will my car be cleaned by she? I know students, you have marked B number as wrong yourself. Why? Because by she, that is not at all matching. Okay, because you know that you have to change into her. So, will my car be cleaned by her will be the correct option. So, this was just for fun. I know that you had already known the answer as soon as you saw this question. So, will my car be cleaned by she? It is totally out of question here. So, now let us see the second one. We ... up by a loud noise during the night. There are options for you. Please see the options. Woke, were woken, were waking. So, what would you say? We ... up by a loud noise during the night. Woke, were woken, were waking. You have learnt in the rule yesterday that where will take a verb 3. So, what will be the verb 3 of wake? Wake, woke, woken. So, what would you write here? We were woken up by a loud noise during the night. So, what is the correct option, dear students? Once again, we were woken up by a loud noise during the night. Okay, I hope that you have understood. Now, let us see the third one. What does he want? Okay, that is a simple question. What does WH question? Remember, we learnt it today and I have presented a question for you. What does he want? It means what? Just guess the answer. Just change it into passive. I know that you have understood and you are trying hard, not hard, it has become easier for you to change that. So, let us see the three options. What is wanted by him? What he wants? What is he wanted? So, what could be the correct answer, dear students? I know everyone is voting for A. What is wanted by him? That is the correct answer. What he wants, it does not fit the pattern of passive. What is he wanted also does not fit the pattern of passive. So, you have all become smarter, dear students. Now, what is the correct answer for this? What is wanted by him? Now, let him write a story. How would you do that? Let us see. Let him write a story is a request. So, what would you say? Let a story be written by him. Suppose you want to change it. How would you change it? Let, then bring an object. Let a story be written by him. I know all of you have made it correct. Now, the last one, obey your teacher. What it would be? Your teacher must be obeyed, your teacher should be obeyed. Okay. So, these are the structures that we have learnt. I hope that you enjoyed the class today, and making active passive into active is a little bit difficult, but I think that if you know the passive structures very well, then you can easily convert them into the active ones. First that you have to see is, if there is a be verb, then please eliminate that, and if there is a was where, please remember that the active voice will have past verb. So, these are some of the basic rules that you have to follow in solving the grammar portion of voice. I hope that you enjoyed this, because I really enjoyed teaching you all, and thank you for being with us, and thank you Metro PABSON for volunteering, for giving students long distance learning, and I hope that all of you are safe at home and all of you are going through your textbooks, because learning is very important in one's life. And with this note, I want to end today's class. I hope that you enjoyed. I just want to say, stay safe and keep learning. Thank you all.